Yo, 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 what's up, all you burner stones and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Fantastic.
I love it. Hey, all you vipers out there in the world, hope you're smoking some big fat joints while you're listening to the show. And we're about to get normal with some Loompa's Headband. This is grown by our friend Big Earl. Thank you, Big Earl, for throwing to the cause. This is a rarity strain here. It's one of 3 cuts that were out there that he had gotten and brought back to life. So I'm super, super stoked to try this. Loompa's Headband is a slightly indica-dominant hybrid strain, 60-40, created through crossing the potent OG Kush and Sour Diesel strain. This beloved bud offers a soothing high with delightful, bright flavor that will keep you coming back for more again and again and again. The high will settle in quickly, gently wrapping its way around your brain with happy, heady sense of calm. As you smile and kick back without a thought in the world, a relaxing body high will sink into your physical form, allowing you to really settle in for the night. A deep sedation wraps everything up, leaving you dozing off before you realize what's happening in combination with its high 25 to 28% average THC level. These effects make Loompa's Headband a great choice for treating chronic stress or anxiety, cramps or muscle spasms, insomnia, and arthritis. This bud has a sweet and sour citrusy lemon flavor, hints of spicy herbal tea, and a touch of earthiness. The aroma is on the heavier side, with a spicy lemon diesel overtone extended with dank kush and earthly herbs. Loompa's Headband buds have dense, conical forest green nugs with lots of thin orange hairs and coating of chunky amber-tinted white crystal trichomes. The effects: calming, happy, relaxing, sleepy, uplifting, relieve symptoms of anxiety, arthritis, cramps, insomnia, muscle spasms, and stress. The flavors are citrus, herbal, kush, sour, sweet, and tea. The aromas are citrus, dank, diesel, flowery, herbal, and spicy. It smelled great when I was grinding it. Oh man, the aroma just hit me like smacked me right in the face. So, what's going on, Ms. Wee Man?
Well, you know, it's summer.
I know.
And
it's August.
It's August.
August 5th.
The weatherman said it's like the middle of summer.
Yes.
But school's going back next week, so it
Here
just
in
feels
Illinois
like the
or
end.
Chicago
So I'm
anyway.
like in slight panic mode that I haven't had enough summer yet. So I went and bought plants today.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about 8decades.com?
I will tell you about 8 Decades. 8 Decades is our baby. It is a brand that we started through a process of discovery and trying to evolve the podcast and bring people more. And so it just is a continuation of our efforts to stomp the stigma through education and through normalizing cannabis. So we started the brand. We created a forever smoke set. So for you flower lovers, it is a beautiful rolling tray, a multi-tool for your cannabis so that you're not touching your flower with your fingers, and a beautiful ashtray. And then from there, we evolved into storage jars and grinders and a steamroller and hemp clothing and swag for the Weedman 420 show.
Yay.
So check us out, 8decades.com, spelled out EIGHT, decades.com, and see what we're all about.
Yeah. You can also donate to Last Prisoner Project on there also. So make sure everybody out there check out 8decades.com, because if you support the brand, you help us keep this show going week to week. So we appreciate there for supporting the brand. I'll take one more hit before we get going. So support 8decades.com. Something funny. We were in Pensacola a couple of years ago, right? And we had noticed a bunch of Jeeps driving around or parked, and they had rubber duckies. Now, when I see rubber duckies
all over the inside the car along
on
the windshield,
right?
Yeah.
And when I see a rubber ducky, a song always pops in my head.
Sesame Street?
Yes. Rubber ducky, you're the one. You make bad time lots of fun.
Are you Ernie or Bert?
Ernie was the one that did that funny laugh, and he always took a bath with his rubber ducky.
Yeah, he did.
So we were talking, though, and always wondering what those meant. And the other day I was driving, and I saw somebody with like 50 of them on their dashboard. I mean, they're like they looked like they couldn't even see out the window. And they had like stuck all over the hood, the trunk, everywhere. They're not just in the window, they were everywhere. So I was like, I need to find out what this means. And I know you had asked when we were in Pensacola what it means, and we've been seeing him for the last few years now.
And someone gave us, like, we have a little duck, a little rubber duck. Someone gave us one. I'm like, tell me the story. And he's like, what story? So, I guess you just, if you know, you know.
So here's
Tell us, Mr. Weedman.
So why do Jeep owners have rubber ducks on their dashboards? What is Jeep ducking?
Yeah.
Jeep owners take part in a quirky tradition known as Jeep ducking or duck Jeep, where they leave rubber ducks on other owners' Jeeps as kind of an impromptu gesture. These ducks often end up displayed on dashboards, forming what Jeepers affectionately call a duck pond. There's origins of this tradition. The movement began in 2020 with Alison Parliament of Ontario, Canada, who after a tense encounter placed a small duck labeled Nice Jeep on another owner's Wrangler to brighten their day. The idea quickly gained traction online. Her heartfelt post sparked widespread attention, and hashtag Duck Jeep helped it go viral. Meaning behind ducking. Ducking is a simple act of fellowship, a way to recognize and connect with fellow Jeep drivers, often those with similar models or shared enthusiasm. It's meant to spread positivity and smiles. Some see receiving ducks as a compliment to their vehicle or an indicator of how well liked their Jeep is among enthusiasts. There's informal rules and community etiquette. Ducking is informal but guided by few norms. Keep the gesture lighthearted and G-rated. Messages on ducks should be positive. Place a duck outside the vehicle in a spot easily found, such as a mirror, handle, bumper, or hood. Often Jeepers that receive ducks will either display them or pass them on to others. Legacy of Alison Parliament. Alison's initiative blossomed into a global goodwill-centered community event. Sadly, she passed away on June 22nd of 2024, but her legacy continues. Jeep ducking thrives as a symbol of kindness and connection. So there's a cultural impact and beyond the Jeep, though. By 2022, Jeep ducking was so popular that Jeep celebrated it by displaying a giant inflatable rubber duck in the North American International Auto Show, a nod to the viral tradition. Similar trends have emerged among other vehicle communities. Subaru owners with rubber cows, moo moo Subaru, Bronco drivers with rubber sharks, buck Bronco, and so on. So it's kind of Alison Parliament who started really something cool and positive, and I think it's kind of fun now. Other cars are able to do something different and take it to a whole nother level. So her legacy lives on in the rubber ducky.
So it's called a duck pond. Your dashboard covered. I saw a Jeep today, and literally center of the dashboard was like a 15-inch pile of ducks. I'm like, how can you even see where you're going?
I guess that person likes to keep their ducks and not give them away then either.
They're keeping all their ducks.
It would be nice to get like some like, hey, you look good today. Hey, I believe in you today. You.
So you're supposed to write on them?
You could, yeah. You could write something positive.
But
on there it said people write positive notes.
That's sweet.
Like in the tradition of keeping it what you're supposed to do. Yeah. It makes people smile, I guess, right? Yeah. So now we know when you're driving out there on a highway or the road, or you're walking past someone's Jeep and you see one or you see 50.
Many.
Yeah. All different sizes and colors, and just smile because now you know what it means. And you have to go,
what is that?
Things that make you go, I'm stoned already.
Yeah, I can
Holy smokes. Big Earl. What'd you do to a brother? That hit quick.
I'm pretty
hell.
baked.
Pretty fresh, though, too. Oh, my God. It was so sticky. I actually have to clean my grinder again. I have to clean it like once a week between all the weed we get from all of our favorite growers, between Igneous, Midwest Terps, guys Ralph Wiley's, and
Igneous,
Big Earl.
Earls.
Yeah, those four right there gunk my shit up. Like I have to clean it every week because it's just so fresh.
I think we're at 5.
5 what?
5 guys.
Oh yeah, no, one passed away. 3 trees.
No, I think you named 5.
Oh, I did. Oh, okay.
Yeah, something like that.
4.
Pretty close.
Igneous,
Earl,
Wiley, Ralph Wiley, Midwest Terps. Yes, I could put Goat Genetics in there too. He's a fan fave too. I love Goat. He fucking grows some phenomenal weed. And there's so many. I've smoked so much weed, and I will say this: I'm not forgetting about you. I can give me more weed then, and I'll mention you on the show again. So there's so many.
Slight bribery.
So yes, a little bit. I don't need much. I just need enough to make it roll a
come
joint.
on, we do the show for free, right? Right.
I mean, I just need a
Donations are welcome.
I need a gram to roll a joint, right? That's all I ever ask for. I'm not asking for an eighth or a cupe or anything like that. Just give me a fucking gram, and I will roll it on the show and smoke it on the show. I'm so baked, and and we'll have some fun with it. Right. So
yes,
that's the rule.
That's the rule.
It is the rule. If you give me a nug,
be cool. Follow the rule.
I will
us some
smoke
buds,
it and give you a prop
and
on the show.
We'll give you
love.
No poem at all.
Oh shit! This is gonna be an interesting show. That was what I read about that.
Yeah, it's happening.
Spot on to what that.
I think I had already spaced out.
Did you?
A minute into the show. I caught spicy. I caught that.
You caught that? You learned about ducks.
I learned about ducks. Duck, duck, go.
All right, there is some cannabis history that we need to talk about.
Yeah?
Yes.
All right.
Last Saturday, August 2nd, marked the 88th anniversary of the signing of the Marijuana Tax Act, the first federal marijuana prohibition law.
We cannot have a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition. That would mean I need to hire another freaking patent attorney to rob me blind so I can get a trademark on my brand name. So please, legislators, get this fucking shit taken care of.
Do 8 decades, please.
Please.
We've, yes, that name came along.
Yes.
So, since the inception, cannabis prohibition has been predicted on deception, stigmatization, and outright lies. Lies. And I have something really cool I can't wait to talk about from a study in Japan. I cannot wait to talk about it. The Marijuana Tax Act was passed in 1937 following almost no legislative debate and over the staunch objections of the American Medical Association, which disputed the government's false claims that cannabis was invariable, induced violence, insanity, and death. One of my favorite pictures that Dov Boy got me, this Reefer Madness one, these two here, if you're looking on our wall, if you're looking on YouTube. But yes, it's always Reefer Madness. And over the ensuing decades, we've witnessed firsthand the tragic consequences of the failed policy, including the denial of medical cannabis access to those who need it, and the arrest of over 30 million Americans for violating marijuana laws. 30 million. 30 million Americans. That we're not even talking about globally. Mm-hmm. I need to know what I have to look up what the number is globally for marijuana arrest. But that's a lot for a plant. The failures of marijuana prohibition are no longer a matter of public debate, which is why nearly 9 in 10 Americans no longer support the federal government's blanket criminalization of cannabis, and why 70% of adults now say that marijuana should be legal. Harry Asslinger, boy. If I can
Talk
travel,
about a legacy.
If I can travel back in time.
Fucking shut up.
Over $1 trillion has been spent on the war on drugs. Taxpayer dollars. It failed.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, 88 years of cannabis prohibition. It's still not federally legal. We keep on getting the carrot drawn in front of us like a horse. So we keep on following it. They just keep on. Every time I read another article about the federal government and cannabis, it just makes me want to puke. It's just so brutal. And we're just being fooled. And I like to thank Normal for putting that out there too, because they were the first to put that article out, like just write about the history of that, of the Marijuana Tax Act. And if you would like, we have an amazing shirt on 8decades.com that has a cool...
Another commercial?
Well, no, but if you want to know what...
It is a cool shirt.
It is a dope shirt. It's a one of a kind. We'll never probably do it again. So it has a big, nice 8 Decades cannabis leaf on front with the logo. And on the back, it has the whole entire Marijuana Tax Act law on the back.
Just bullet points about all the BS garbage.
We get stopped all the time and people want to read it. And people look at our shirts all the time. And because of that, and it really hits some good bullet points on there. So buy one of those shirts and wear it around, and knowing that it's 88 years, that shirt is out there for you.
We got challenged one time early in the business at an event, and there was a traditional OG grower there. He's like, "Who are you guys? What are you doing over here? What do you have?"
Very
What's
early
that
in
shirt?
the game.
And he's like, "What do you know about cannabis? Do you even know, like, you know anything?" I'm like, "Nah, not really."
Remember, I got up and I turned around.
And I'm like, "Just go read that shirt over there. We might know a few things. We know, like, we know some stuff."
I remember that. That was great. and that person came over by
He's
me,
like,
and I
"Oh."
was sitting there with my tray, and I was
Okay.
rolling joints for people.
Mhm.
It was the first event I think we ever went to, right? Like, and people are looking at me rolling joints and handing out weed, and this guy goes, "Your wife told me to read your back of your shirt," and I stood up and I turned around, and then I turned back around, and he shook my hand.
He was kind of quiet.
Yeah, he shook my
Yeah,
hand.
he shook your
goes,
hand.
And he goes, "You guys know."
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know some things.
We know two treat things. You ready to get the show started?
Let's do it.
I'm going to try to get the show
We're going to
started.
try. I think we have to talk a little faster, or it's going to be like a
baked.
3-hour show.
So good, Earl.
It is great.
I'm really, really baked. So I'm so bummed. Like I only
Definitely de-stress.
Oh yeah, I feel
Chill.
no pain right now.
Yeah.
So I saw some people talking about this on LinkedIn, I think, and they were talking about plasma static separation for making dried sift versus the old-fashioned way with screens and just hours and hours of work.
Plasma what?
Plasma static.
Ooh.
Yes.
Science.
So I didn't know much about it. So what does Mr. Weedman do when he doesn't know something?
Google.
I research.
Yeah.
Right. And there was a bunch of different stuff to read about it. I will say this, the AI nowadays, when you type something in, you don't even have to go look for articles anymore.
Don't tell people that.
Why?
Because we need to use our brains.
No, I know, but if
You
something
can't just, like, this drives me nuts. The
No,
whole
but wait,
AI
if
thing,
it's
because
something-
I
if it's
read
something I
things and I
can't-
know it's written by AI
Of course.
because
But I'm
there's
talking about something
it's
quick.
not
something I
perfect.
don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I know. It's a good place to gather quick information.
Right. And then go in to
Yes.
look for some articles.
Yes.
But it was just good
But
to
you
like
really do need to
But it was like
cross-reference.
I went and looked at articles, but I just glanced through the AI part of it. I was like, wow, they've come a long. What I'm trying to get at is they've come a long way from like a year or 2 years ago where you get like 2 sentences.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
Now
I
it's
I
like,
use it.
That's
but
what
you
I'm
just have
saying. There's a lot of information they've come with now.
It's
in
not
that.
the encyclopedia, is
Absolutely
my
not.
point.
The Britannica?
You could trust the words of the Britannica.
Yes.
I don't trust the words of AI.
Right. So, but it was very interesting to see how much it's come in a year to 2 years time. It's like now you get like full blown. I was like, holy shit. And then you scroll down, like I had to scroll down almost all the way down to the end of it to get to like the first like 3 or 4 articles. That's how much information that came up about this plasma static.
Okay.
So it was kind of cool. So I found a couple articles, read them too, and I kind of compiled some of them together and just to help me understand it because I didn't know anything about it. So, all right, stoners and connoisseurs, let's lean back, spark it up, and let's talk tech with your trichomes. We're diving into something next level, something that sounds straight out of science fiction, but is 100% real and 100% dope. Plasma static separation. Yeah, you heard me right. This is dry sift, but on some wizard level cannabis alchemy kind of shit. So first, what is dry sift? We all know it's a process of separating those sweet, sweet trichomes from the cannabis plant using screens, agitation, and gravity. It's been around forever. No water, no solvents, just good old tumble and some patience. But here's the deal. Even the best dry sift can come out a little messy. You get some plant material mixed in with your trichomes. It's good, but not always full melt good. So that's where plasmastatic separation comes in. This isn't just a gimmick or a buzzword. It's a breakthrough. And it's a game changer for extract artists who want that perfect, clean, top-tier sift. So what the hell is it, Mrs Weedman? Plasmastatic separation is a proprietary method developed by a crew for pushing the boundaries in hash rosin and solventless world. It's basically an electrostatic cleaning system. The name of the company, the name of the people that created this, I guess, is called the Press Club. Electrostatic cleaning system, but way cooler than it sounds. Here's how it works. After you dry sift your material using traditional screens, you run that collected sift through the plasmatic setup. It uses high-frequency plasma field to charge the particles. Trichomes and plant matter get zapped with opposing charges. And because they're different in structure, they respond differently to the field. The result, the trichomes fall where they should, and the contaminants, those sneaky little bits of plant matter, get glued or pulled to the side like they just got kicked out of the VIP section. No chemicals, no water, no heat, just electricity, airflow, and pure separation magic. Now here's where it gets even better. This process is incredibly precise. It doesn't break or damage the trichomes, and because there's no physical friction, like in traditional sifting, you retain more of the natural structure and integrity of those glands. What you end up with is that blonde, sandy, melt on your nail, top shelf dry shift. We're talking dab worthy. We're talking full melt hash quality. Now, this is my, I'm learning about this. So this is what I took from a bunch of different articles. So I'm not saying this is the right, I'm not saying it's wrong. I just wanted to learn about it. Right? So, so who's this for? It's perfect for extract artists who love the art of solventless but hate the imperfections. And yes, it's not for every home grower out there. But for small batch hash makers, boutique brands, and those building a name on quality, this is serious flex. The Press Club system is built on repeatability and precision. It takes out the guesswork and removes the inconsistencies that can plague traditional sifting. Now let's get real. This ain't just about getting a prettier pile of keef. This is about elevating the craft. When you're producing sift that's nearly contaminant-free, you are not just pressing better rosin, you're preserving terps, increasing yield, and reducing the wear on your gear. And most importantly, you're giving the people that they deserve that good. It's wild to think we've gone from simple screens and bubble bags to plasma-powered trichome separation. But that's the evolution of the game. It's where cannabis tech meets cannabis culture, and honestly, I think it's kind of cool. I can't wait to try some one day, but I know anybody that's making it with it just to see and taste, and if you really get more flavor. So I'm kind of here for it just because it's new technology. Yeah. See if people use it and if it works really, you know. You like fucking tech shit, don't you? I'm pretty stoned. I know. Oh yeah, I know. I'm stoned. But I'm straightforward.
It's okay. You're good.
I'm straightforward.
No, you're good.
I know.
You're good. I could just tell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't get the shakes though.
No.
The shivers.
Yeah,
I'm close.
almost there.
If I hit that like 4 or 5 more times, I might.
You're done.
So next time you're breaking up some flour and admiring those glittery trichomes, remember there's a whole science behind getting the cleanest sift possible. And if you ever see a product labeled with plasmatic static separation in the mix, now you know the secret sauce behind the golden dust. That wraps up this journey, though. Hopefully it helped. Let's keep it clean, keep it terpy, and always respect the resin. Let's stay lifted for the plant we love, right, Mrs. Weedman? Oh, it's your turn now.
I know.
Oh, I'm excited.
I know it's my turn.
This is very euphoric weed, too.
Yeah.
Because your hair is going from like red.
Like you're seeing things like colors.
Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's huge. And that candle over there is flickering wilder than it's supposed to.
I'm not having that. I have had that with strains before.
I didn't get enough of that. I only got.
Here, you want more?
No. I'm talking about. I wish I had more. Like I only got like enough to roll 2 joints. I didn't.
It was just trial.
Yeah, to try just because I wanted to smoke it on the show. So when Earl came by, he gave me a couple things to try.
We've had Uncle Loom's
Packy Headband.
Yes. This is just Packy Headband.
This is
just Uncle Loom's.
This is just. Yeah, you made me forget.
Just Loom's.
This is
Loom's Headband.
Yeah, Loompa's Headband. LOOMPA' Headband.
Loompa
It's like an Oompa Loompa.
I feel like I got Oompa Loompa headband on my head right now.
This is kind of cool. Some good early. I don't know if it's early research, but I would say it's. You got to take a lot, right? So single dose of CBD reduces alcohol cravings and brain reactivity in alcoholics.
Yes.
Pretty interesting.
So I know somebody, a good friend of ours, who is going through right now, like the early stages of recovery. And that person was given a medication by their doctor to help reduce cravings and to essentially help their body wean off of the alcohol without having withdrawals. Number one, when this person was at a meeting and brought that to the attention of their sponsor said, Or like a couple of people at the meeting were like, well, that's not really like, that's not how you have to go clean, like everything, nothing, like everything has to be gone. You can't be taking anything. And if you do that, then you're not really like, it's not the equivalent of being clean. And I thought to myself, if the world has given you tools to help you not be an alcoholic, why put a stigma on that?
Right.
It's not alcohol. The drug isn't reproducing the effects of alcohol. It's diminishing the craving for alcohol.
Right.
It's not doing the same thing. You're not substituting a drug for something addictive.
No.
It's just silly. Like, I just thought that was really silly. And maybe it's just these particular person's opinion about it, but it was kind of strange. Well, this person I know that is going through recovery also would prefer to be able to use cannabis, but the program doesn't allow for it. And I suggested maybe looking into a cannabis-friendly Al-Anon group, but Al-Anon really is essentially about nothing.
Right.
No intoxicating, mind-altering substance at all. So it may be like an offshoot that is in some places and not in others. I don't even know if it exists in this area.
Right.
But fact being, Al-Anon stigmas about cannabis. It's a Schedule I substance. It's a drug. I get it. Like, that's not at their core philosophies, right? But if you use it, again, if you're using it therapeutically and it resolves your dependence upon alcohol that can be life-destructing, many life-destructing, multiple lives, families, you know what I mean? Like, it's bad news, alcoholism, right? And you're not necessarily replacing it with cannabis, but you're using cannabis as a tool for wellness and mental health and anxiety and all of these things that a lot of people turn to alcohol for.
Right. Yeah.
But you're using it and it's not destructive like alcohol. So I don't know, maybe there's going to be a day where there's a program that's readily available to people that understands and supports the use of cannabis for getting off of alcohol. But blah, 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 I am stoned. Hey, hey. So let's talk about this study. Cannabidiol, CBD, is a non-intoxicating compound found in the cannabis plant. Unlike tetrahydrocannabinol, or THC, the primary psychoactive ingredient in cannabis, CBD does not produce a high and is generally considered safe. It interacts with the body's endocannabinoid system, which helps regulate mood, pain, sleep, and immune responses. CBD has attracted growing interest for its potential therapeutic properties, including reducing anxiety, inflammation, and seizures. CBD is widely available in the form of oils, capsules, edibles, topical creams, so many ways, although scientific evidence still remains limited for its many of its popular uses. There's a study, and the study author is Sina Zimmerman and her colleagues, and they tested whether CBD could reduce alcohol cravings triggered by environmental cues, a phenomenon known as cue-induced craving, and whether it could reduce activation in the nucleus accumbens, a brain region involved in reward and motivation. In individuals with alcohol use disorder, exposure to alcohol-related cues, such as sight, smell, or contextual reminders of drinking, often trigger elevated nucleus accumbens activity and increased craving. This heightened brain response can drive compulsive use and increase the risk of relapse. The researchers recruited 28 adults with mild to severe alcohol use disorder who were not currently seeking treatment. Their average age was 36. On average, participants met the criteria for alcohol use disorder, reportedly drinking about 46 grams of alcohol per day and having 36% heavy drinks over the past 90 days. Participants were randomly assigned to receiving either 800 milligrams of CBD, so a lot, or an identical-looking placebo. All participants were instructed to abstain from alcohol for at least 24 hours before the study session. 3 hours after taking the assigned capsules, timed to coincide with peak CBD absorption, participants underwent a series of tasks. First, they completed the Trier social stress test, which involved delivering a speech and performing mental arithmetic in front of evaluators. They were then shown and allowed to handle their favorite alcoholic drink in a controlled bar that was a laboratory setting. This combination of stress and alcohol cues was designed to provoke craving. Next, participants underwent a functional MRI, where they were again shown alcohol-related cues while brain activity was recorded. Throughout the session, participants reported their craving levels using the alcohol urge questionnaire and a visual analog scale. The results showed that participants who received CBD reported significantly lower craving levels after the stress and cue exposure compared to those who received the placebo. During the functional MRI session, they also showed reduced cravings and significantly lower activity in the left and right nucleus accumbens when exposed to alcohol-related images. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Importantly, participants with higher concentrations of CBD in their blood had lower self-reported cravings and lower nucleus accumbens activation, indicating a dose-response relationship. The researchers found no evidence that sex, age, body mass, or smoking status predicted CBD blood levels, suggesting individual variability in absorption or metabolism. CBD's capacity to reduce stress and cue-induced alcohol cravings and to normalize nucleus accumbens activation, a region critical to pathophysiology of alcohol use disorder, contribute to understanding the neurobiological basis of its clinical effects and support its potential as a treatment option, the study authors concluded. The study provides preliminary clinical evidence that CBD may reduce alcohol craving and blunt the brain's reactivity to alcohol cues in individuals with alcohol use disorder. However, it also has several limitations. The study sample size was small, and the test was only a single acute dose. It remains unknown whether these effects would persist or grow stronger with repeated use, or how they might apply to individuals actively seeking treatment for alcohol use. But this is a positive set of news, and we look forward to more studies on this subject.
Yeah, that's pretty big news, right?
Yeah.
CBD. Turning cannabis waste into high-value products, chemical treatment, and characterizations of recreational cannabis stems. That whole plan, I've said it for a very long time. All right, my fellow cannabis lovers and eco-conscious stoners, light one up and listen close, because the science experiment is about to transform cannabis trash into treasure. Yep, we're talking stems, the part everyone usually ignores or toss in the compost. I like chewing on them.
You always have.
Oh, yeah. I love them. But hold up. There's some serious value packed inside those sticks. Welcome to the world of nanocrystal science. Science. Now, this research comes straight out of the American Society of Agriculture and Biological Engineers, and it's groundbreaking as it is green. The title, Turning Cannabis Waste into High-Value Products. And trust me, it lives up to the hype. Here's the deal. When you harvest a cannabis plant, nearly 40 to 50% of the total biomass is made up of stalks and stems. There's almost half the plant being treated like garbage. But what if I told you those stalks could be transformed into cellulose nanocrystals, or CNCs for short? The ultra small, high-performance materials that can be used in everything from biocomposites to edible food coatings. That's next level sustainability right there. So how do they do it? Get ready for some little cannabis chemistry here. Researchers took these so-called green waste stalks and ran them through a series of treatments: alkali soaking, bleaching, metal catalyzed oxidation process using chromium-3. At each step, they broke down and cleaned up the biomass, refining it into something with major potential. Now let's talk composition. These stalks are lignocellulosic, meaning they've got a natural mix of cellulose hemicellulose, and lignin. That cellulose, that's the good stuff. It's what becomes nanocrystals. They also checked for cannabinoids because legal stuff and found that raw stalks contained a tiny, tiny amount of like 0.078% total THC on a dry basis. That's why I like chewing on them so much. That's way below the psychoactive threshold, making them compliant for non-licensed handling. Then they hit those stalks with the mid 1 to 3% sodium hydroxide solution and dropped the TH even further down to about 0.036%. Basically, this waste is not going to get you high, but it's going to get you thinking. After the first round of cleaning, they stopped it up to 10% of NaOH treatment, followed by sodium chloride bleaching, which produced a clean cellulose-rich pulp. It came the magic CR3 plus catalyzed oxidation, converting the pulp into the prize, cellulose nanocrystals. And these nanocrystals aren't just a science fair project. They came out as spindles shaped with an average length of 280 nanometers and a skinny little width of 9 nanometers, giving them an aspect ratio of 34. That's serious surface area. I need a sip.
Serious surface area.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about nano.
I know.
Spaces.
But serious.
Serious.
That's why it's so serious. All right, this is going to be a hard word for me, but I'll do my best.
You can do it.
Test like thermogravimetric analysis, TGA, showed that the processed fibers had better thermal stability, which basically means they're tougher under heat. And with X-ray purification, research found that crystallinity index jumped from 50 to 72%, which is scientist speaks for. This stuff got the real structural uniform. And if you like microscope shots, TEM imaging confirmed that nanocrystals were clean, sharp, and ready for action. So, what can you do with them? Get this. They can be used in biocomposites, think car parts and building materials. Bioadhesives, eco-friendly glue. Bioabsorbent materials, maybe future filters or even cleanup tech. Sustainability packaging. Get the fuck out of here, plastic. I've seen enough of you. And even edible food coatings. Weed stern tech on your strawberries. Pretty cool. Weed stem on your strawberries. It's a food coating made from weed stems. Why are you laughing? That's what I call circular economy vibes, my friends. That's pretty good. Mm-hmm. The stems. What did I say?
Plant matter.
I know. So instead of throwing out half the plant, the study shows how we can repurpose and upcycle cannabis waste into materials that are not only sustainable, but actually high value. We're talking about a win for growers, processors, manufacturers, and the plant, because you could sell that. You get some weight, 50, 60%. You get stems. So next time you trim up a harvest, look at the pile of stems. Just remember, you're not looking at trash. You're looking at potential. You're looking at the future of green technology. You're looking at plant-based nanotech coming straight from your favorite herb. From fire to fiber, from smoke to science, this plant keeps on giving. And let's keep pushing the industry forward one stem at a time. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Breathalyzers.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd like to give you a breathalyzer right now, mister, because I think you are speaking under the influence.
But they're saying they can detect edibles through a breathalyzer.
Through your hot breath.
Tell us about it, Mrs. Weedman.
Weed DUI tests have been shrouded in controversy for a while now because they don't fucking have one, with many claiming that they're rooted in pseudoscience. While alcohol can be objectively tested for using tools like breathalyzers, weed tests often consist of assessments of coordination, muscle tone, and pupil size. According to scientists like William McNichol, these tests aren't rooted in science, and they are too subjective to be taken seriously. As law enforcement cracks down, it's important that weed users are protected from false accusations of driving high and that roads are also kept safe. This may be possible soon with researchers at the National Institute of Standards and Technology, also known as NIST, NIST, claiming to have made the first breath detection of THC following the consumption of edibles only. That's important. In the study conducted by 3 NIST researchers and 1 from the University of Colorado and Schultz Medical, 29 people's breath samples were collected before and after consuming a THC-infused edible. The edibles ranged in strength from 5 to 100 milligrams of THC. Since the participants brought their own products, the amounts were not verified by the study. The researchers used both an aerosol and condensate device to take samples before ingestion, and then at 47, 92, and 180-minute marks. Participants were told to abstain from using edibles for 12 hours prior to the study and from smoking for 8 hours. But 27 of the 29 samples were found to have contained THC before the point of ingestion. So they're stoners. This detection of residual cannabis ranging from trace amounts to greater than 0.4 nanograms raises some issues that will have to be addressed in future iterations of the study. Yeah, like that's the reason that breathalyzers can't work, because THC remains in your body. So I may not be high, but I might have smoked last night. So that doesn't work. You can't go arresting me if I'm driving.
Yeah, because Mrs. Weedman says so.
Yeah. The finding of detectable and or quantifiable THC before cannabis use shows how challenging it is to interpret a single THC concentration measurement in breath with no prior information about THC at baseline, said the study's authors. After ingesting the edibles, 19 of the 29 participants' breath showed a significant increase in THC. 4 showed no change, and 6 showed a significant decrease. Oddly enough, the people whose tests showed decreases were the ones that had the highest concentrations in the pre-ingestion screens. The other results support the claim that recent weed consumption can be detected by breath. According to the researchers, when detected, CBN and CBG matched THC trends, but there were multiple instances where CBD and THC disagreed, suggesting differences in biological processing or clearance. Because of the small sample size and inconclusive results, NIST's study does not mean that the challenges of weed breath tests are solved. However, it does mean that multiple measurements over a period of time may detect recent cannabis use. Eventually, this finding may lead to a proper breath testing system. NIST has clarified that it is not intending to develop a testing device, but rather to ensure that any measurements used in the future will be accurate and reliable. The agency will host a workshop with device makers in September. Looking forward, we can now tackle the question of when THC increases after edible ingestion, when it goes back to baseline, and how to analyze breathalyzer data to get the information needed, said Kavita Jarij, one of NIST researchers. So let's hope they get this figured out in the near future, because it could prevent unnecessary arrests and fines for consumers who drive.
Nice.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
On edibles. Come on now. Come on now. This is a great study.
Yeah.
I'm so fired up about this article. And it comes all the way over from Japan, because Japan finds no evidence that marijuana is a gateway drug. Now we've read some stuff about gateway, marijuana being a gateway drug and some other stuff, but this is like a really good study. You ready, Miss Weedman? All right, my beautiful stoners and truth seekers, go ahead, take a toke for science, because we're heading to Japan for this one. And they just dropped a government-funded bombshell that could shake up one of the oldest lies in the book. Yep, we're talking about the gateway drug myth. You know, the classic line they fed us: smoke a joint, and the next thing you know, you're robbing a pharmacy for heroin. Please. Well, the Japanese National Center of Neurology and Psychiatry just dropped a peer-reviewed study that says straight up, there is no scientific evidence that marijuana use leads to harder drug use. Let me say it for all the people in the back. No evidence that weed is a gateway drug. None, zip, nada, nothing, nil, zero, zilch. Now that's just some stoner opinion. That's government-funded research published in a medical journal and backed by some serious science. Let me break it down for y'all. The research looked at a bunch of past studies that claim there was a concern between cannabis and future drug use, most of which came from the U.S. Remember, everybody? The lies they've been telling us on the war on drugs, $1 trillion. And they were like, yo, these conclusions, they're kind of weak. They specifically called out a lack of strong causal evidence, saying there's no proof that cannabis causes people to move on to more dangerous drugs. Now they're not saying hard drug use isn't a problem. Obviously it is. But blaming that path on weed, that's old school fear-mongering with no real data to back it up. What the research did point out was that a person's environment, mental health, trauma history, and socioeconomic background are way more likely to explain future drug use than whether they lit up a joint at 17 years old. And here's the part that really got to me. They called the gateway theory no longer supportable.
Yay.
That's in the study, folks. Done. Out. Finished. Let's toss the myth in the ashtray and never light that shit again. Now let's talk about the vibe in Japan for a sec, because Japan's cannabis laws are, they're harsh. Even trace amounts can get you locked up. But this research is part of a growing shift in how Japan, and honestly the world, is starting to look at weed, not here in the U.S., not through fear, but through facts and data and science and those angels in those leaves. How many times I got to tell y'all out there? Listen to Mr. Weedman. The authors also said we need to move past emotional arguments and start looking at cannabis through lenses of scientific evidence and harm reduction. That's music to these ears, Mrs. Weedman.
Mm-hmm.
They're calling for policy built on data, not stigma. Ha-ha! What's your line?
Stomp the stigma.
Can I get a hell yeah and a toke on a bong, Mrs. Weedman?
You
a
want
bong
smoke?
rip? No, not yet.
Oh.
And here's the kicker. The study didn't just debunk the gateway myth. It also gives ammo to global reform movements, from the U.S. to Japan to anywhere still clinging to reefer madness rhetoric. This paper is like a mic drop. Boom. Science wins. But I say stoners know. We also are the winners. And we're the champions. My friends. So what's this mean for us? Well, if you ever had to defend your relationship with the plant, if some politician or keyboard warrior tried to call you a burnout on the way to a heroin habit, you can point them straight to Japan's official research. Government funded, peer reviewed, game, set, match. You've always said if it's peer reviewed and government funded, it's fucking. You've said this to me before. It's pretty legit, right? That's what you want to look for when you're looking for research, right? And data kind of stuff.
I mean, if they're backed, they just have more. They just tend to have more money,
right?
Grants, government funding.
Pretty good.
It's good.
And another sign that the walls are crumbling, my friends. We're not just seeing legalization spread. We're watching science dismantle decades of lies, piece by piece, study by study, puff by puff. So light one for the truth today. Light one for scientists standing up to the stigma, and light one up for the people who got locked up under bad laws and bogus theories. 30 million of them, and just here in the United States. Because the future of cannabis isn't fear, it's freedom, facts, and full spectrum healing. All right, my friends. That's the T from Tokyo. Stay lifted, stay educated, and always, always, always keep puffing with purpose. Right, Mrs. Weedman?
That's right.
Now, here's a kicker, too. Tell us why not all terpenes are created equal.
Yes.
We love our terps.
Yes. So we have had some recent episodes where we've touched on the fact that cannabis in the legal space has been bred to perform as a high THC delivery substance.
Absolutely.
And that's all it is. They've stripped it of extra cannabinoids and terpenes and all of those good qualities that give you the quote unquote entourage effect. Full spectrum is how I would say it. You're getting full plant matter when you have flower that you have some control over. You know where it comes from. You know the practices of growing. You know where the seeds are coming from. Like, seed to sale. When you know a little bit more about that, you can pick things that are higher quality. But if you're just dealing with legal market goods, you got to know what you're getting into. And so when you're having these vapes, 9 out of 10 vapes, if it's just a concentrate or distillate vape, or if you're having edibles, it's all coming from distillate. And what is distillate? It's the mass-produced flower that is really just THC, and it is stripped down using chemical extraction, and it is provided to you in an easy carrier that you enjoy, a vape or edibles, because they don't come with smell and they don't come with the labor of having to grind and roll and smoke, and the people don't want to smoke. But you have to know that you're not getting full plant matter. And it's really important that that point gets across to people, because you might see on the package of edibles that it's a nighttime edible and it has CBN in it. That CBN may not even be coming from a cannabis plant. And that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
You need to know more about what you're consuming. Because if you ask me, the plant is medicine. And you can get synthesized medicine and you can get natural medicine. Natural medicine that is full spectrum is going to give you a night and day difference from that stuff.
Preach it to the people, Mrs.
stuff.
Weedman.
We'll
Preach
call
it to
it
the people.
stuff.
The people.
So, not all terpenes are created equal. Yes, there continues to be a proliferation of over-dried cannabis in legal markets caused by factors ranging from poor drying and curing environments or practices to purposeful, rapid over-drying to minimize bacterial or fungal contamination risk. When adding these practices to a flooded market with a slow retail turnover rate, the result is a backlog where freshly harvested cannabis sits in warehouses while older and older harvests get shipped out. As the cannabis ages, it inevitably diminishes in quality as terpenes degrade and evaporate. And what I was just saying too, beyond that, it has to do with the genetics that the plant is grown with. We want the consumers, the industry has pushed for THC to be the most important thing. And by doing so, they have created and modified seed to produce high THC plants. So even that plant matter that you might be getting in a dispensary may not have much more than THC in it. That's so sad because there's so much more to it.
Yep.
I'm going to try to stay calm. Maybe I should smoke some more. I considered dried raw cannabis buds to be a perishable item with a shelf life of approximately 1 year if stored in a cool, dark environment. This can be extended if the sealed containers are stored in a sub-zero freezer until ready for delivery to the point of sale. I have certainly seen incredible cannabis that was over 1 year old, but it has been properly stored and cared for over that time. With the increase of older and over-dried cannabis in the market, there has been a steady rise in both non-cannabis derived and cannabis derived. You got that? Non-cannabis derived and cannabis-derived terpenes in multiple forms being produced and distributed to cannabis and hemp growers. The proliferation of terpene additives, got that? Additives. You don't need them. Get the good stuff. The proliferation of terpene additives is accompanied by gizmos and gadgets designed to facilitate their application to terpene devoid cannabis buds. Ugh. These applicators range from plastic sprayers to pasteurized chambers designed to deeply infuse the terpenes into the plant material. Wow. It is fairly well known and often mentioned on packaging and in marketing materials that many vape products utilize added terpenes, but their usage is spreading beyond concentrates. I asked one of the largest steam distilled cannabis derived terpene producers who its largest customer was. Guess what? It was one of the largest greenhouse growers in the state who infused the terpenes into their cannabis destined for their pre-rolled joints. Despite the efforts, I am of the opinion that you can't fix broken, and terpene devoid cannabis is broken. Why would someone overdry and evaporate existing terpenes to then reapply alternative terpenes? Sounds like a pointless exercise. Terpenes are compounds that work together with a multitude of cannabinoids. It's that combination that is responsible for the entourage or synergistic effects that human endocannabinoid systems, the effects with your human endocannabinoid system. Terpenes are natural aromatic compounds that are responsible for both the aroma and flavor characteristics in cannabis, other plants, animals, beer, and everything in between. As of 2017, more than 560 unique chemical constituents have been identified in cannabis, with more than 100 unique cannabinoids and more than 150 individual terpenes noted.
Yeah.
So, where are terpenes used on cannabis sourced from? Get this. Food grade terpenes. These are typically derived from plants and fruits. We're not talking about weed plants. We're talking about plants. Typically, these food grade terpenes are coming from plants and fruit through steam distillation or hydrodistillation. Steam distilled cannabis derived terpenes are available, but will often lack the vibrancy of the oils collected that were not subjected to heat. So they're not, the best. How about CO2 extracted fractionalized terpenes? How about that for science? CO2 derived cannabis terpenes pale in comparison to other extraction methods. CO2 extractors often utilize dried cannabis as their input material, which has minimal terpene content to start with. And then there is thin film distilled cannabis derived terpenes. This process utilizes heat. So again, we are degrading the terpenes. And why are you going to take terpenes from one plant and put them on another plant? Just grow a better plant. Then we have rosin sauce. Rosin is melted and cannabinoids and terpenes are separated under vacuum. These terpenes are utilized in rosin vape cartridges. And there are cannabis-derived hydrocarbon extraction methods. This process yields a sauce separating THCA from the remaining cannabinoids and terpenes. These terpenes are also predominantly utilized in vape carts and sometimes added to flavorless distillates for use in vape carts. Fresh bud oil. So if you pressed a fresh flower and the juice that you get out of that is 92% monoterpenes with 7% sesquiterpenes and approximately 1% other chemical classes, such as simple ketones, esters, and thiols. Not unexpectedly, drying the plant material resulted in an overall reduction in the percentage of the oil recovered, with most of the loss appearing to happen during the first week of drying. Well, that's inevitable. You can't not dry your flower. But it's important to know. So if you're already producing a plant that has minimal amounts of terpenes and now you're losing a lot of it through the drying process, week 1, you're losing the most. You'd cure your weed for like 6 to 8 weeks. So think about that. There's not much left at the end if there's not much there to start with. Drying results in a significantly greater loss of monoterpenes than sesquiterpenes. As of yet, it has been nearly impossible to recreate the aromatic potential of the more than 150 known cannabis terpenes using just a few food-grade terpenes. They are predominantly sold as single terpene compositions like pinene, limonene, or linalool. So it's just one. Pick it, put it in there. The steam distillation process alone destroys and converts the original terpene composition from the original plant material, meaning these single terpene compositions are not even a true representation of their source. The most aromatic extractions occur at or below ambient temperatures, which prevent thermal degradation. So like a cold hash, like an ice bath hash, that gets your most flavor, right? Mm-hmm. Even cannabis-derived terpenes have their limitations. CO2 extraction utilizes dried plant material, where a percentage of terpenes is already lost during drying. Another portion is then lost during the CO2 recovery. The resulting extract from steam or hydrodistillation is compromised by heat, and a percentage of water-soluble terpenes is then lost to the water. Thin film distillation also leverages heat, compromising the resulting extract. Additionally, the initial extraction process might isolate only a fraction of the terpenes present in a fresh bud. So, rather than reinfusing a lesser quality essential oil terpene, which will ultimately result in poor quality final products, perhaps the efforts could be better spent properly drying and curing bud, with emphasis on terpene preservation and retention. This includes better protocols and infrastructure for long-term storage, as it is likely to take years for stored inventories to normalize. This way, we might see more cannabis products with well-preserved terpene profiles, which would be a refreshing change of pace.
Mm-hmm. He writes a lot of good articles, and I'm glad we get to read his stuff. Kenneth Morrow.
Yes,
he's a good journalist. He writes a lot of good stuff. I've read a lot of his stuff off show. I've used some of his articles on show too. You've read a couple from him, but really good. His knowledge.
Good writing.
Oh yeah, really good, and very interesting too.
I think there was something about his. He's been writing on cannabis-related topics for 20 years.
Yeah, he's a good journalist.
And he does cannabis research and development. He owns a company that does R&D for cannabis.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, and he's also an award-winning grower and breeder.
Oh, there you go.
So he has a lot of say. Yes.
Yeah. Like I said, everything I've read from him has been really good. You know, like I said, either on the show, I've read a few of his articles. You have too, and off. He's got some really good takes and very knowledgeable.
Oh, it goes on and on. He's even made contributions to many of today's extraction methodologies. So on that note about the terpenes, he knows a lot. And he holds multiple patents. And he is a consultant and author of the book Marijuana Horticulture Fundamentals, and a founding advisory board member of Cannabis Business Times. How does one person do so much? Thanks, Kenneth.
Yeah. Thanks for the knowledge.
Yeah.
You're helping us learn every time I read something. Yeah. It's good stuff. So thank you for sharing. Oh, political, state, and business news.
Can you do it? You want to smoke some more, Mr.
No,
Weedman?
I'm good right now. I'm totally good. I want to, maybe when we get through international news. Check this out. Decatur, Illinois schools just rolled out a marijuana smell policy. Yep, if a student smells like weed, they can get disciplined. Even with possession. No bud, no blunt, just scent, and boom, you're in trouble.
What if mom was smoking on the way to school?
I know somebody that goes to school quite often.
Smelling like weed?
And they pulled him into the principal's office a few times.
The kids?
No, the parents called the school on this person who's picking up his kids.
I might know who you're talking about.
Yes, you should.
That's great. Excuse me, mister.
Yeah.
You smell like cannabis.
He's been called to the principal's office or been called probably since
I'd be like, mind your business.
Basically, that's what he says to himself. And then he goes, okay, I'll try better next time.
Have a great day.
Yeah. I mean, I can give his nickname. I'll give his nickname.
You don't even need to.
No?
I know what you're talking about.
I should throw him
I actually had a couple people pop up, but yeah.
That's funny.
Keep smoking.
Yeah, keep on smoking. So, talk about a contact high headache. Should have called it no dank left behind act. Stay fresh, kids, and maybe pack some body spray. Axe always covers all the smell.
That would be worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Covers it up.
You want your kid walking in smelling like shaving cream?
New York's cannabis market is heating up. They're saying the 1.5 billion scene could support over 1,700 dispensaries, but right now only a fraction are open. Talk about high demand and low supply. It's like throwing a pizza party and only bringing breadsticks. Come on, New York, let the people shop, open those doors, and let the flower flow. And then here's the kicker in the nuts. New York's cannabis chaos continues. 152 shops are violating proximity rules. Setting up to close to schools or other dispensaries looks like someone skipped zoning day in the weed biz school. The state's cracking down, but with regs still hazy, it's like playing pin the dispo on the map. Maybe next time, try a tape measure before lighting the open sign. And then Governor Kathy Hochul is promising that the 89 licensed cannabis dispensaries in New York City and the dozens more statewide will not be forced to shut down after the state's Office of Cannabis Management announced that those retail dispensaries locations are out of compliance with the state's proximity rules. More on that as I get to know more. Kentucky's medical marijuana game just hit fast forward. One cultivator's bringing in half-grown plants to speed up the first ever process. Smart move. Why wait for seeds to sprout when you can start mid-grow and hit the shelves sooner? It's like skipping the tutorial and diving straight into the boss's level. Let's go Bluegrass State. Get the green medicine growing and glowing. Kentucky just lit up. The first medical marijuana dispensary has officially been approved to open its doors. Governor Bashar made it official. Patients get ready to shop, local and legal. It's like Derby, but for dank. From bourbon to buds, Kentucky stepping into the green game. Big cheers to progress, y'all. Now let's get those shelves stocked. Big twist in the cannabis testing world. 25 plus labs are suing Perkin-Elmer, now Revity Health Science, for fraud, seeking up to $1 billion in damages for lost revenue of close to like $500 million.
Wow.
They say the gear they sold was marketed as cannabis ready, but flat out couldn't test weed reliably. Talk about buying a Ferrari and getting a bicycle. Stay sharp, test smart, and demand lab integrity. No more shady science. Minnesota's aspiring cannabis entrepreneurs just hit a wall. Banks and credit unions are basically saying nope, even after getting preliminary state approval to open adult use microbusinesses this fall. Most can't secure loans, mortgages, or even basic deposit accounts. It's like building a rocket with no fuel tank. Until Safer Banking Act passes, they're stuck pumping personal credit. Hang tight, Minnesota. It's going to be a little bit of a rough ride. Connecticut's AG William Tong is suing Make It Better LLC and two guys seeking $2.5 million prejudgment fees over a fake cannabis license scam that duped up to 70 retailers, charging $25 to $30K each for bogus state permits and forged docs. It's like buying a VIP pass only to find out it's just plastic. You got played, Connecticut. Scammers, schemers, artists, beware. Justice is pending, and that acid freeze is real. An anti-marijuana group called Smart Approach to Marijuana, SAM, dropped a major TV ad campaign urging Trump not to reschedule cannabis. They claim moving weed to Schedule 3 would empower Chinese cartels, normalize use, and give big marijuana tax breaks under IRS 280E. It's fear-mongering wrapped in cable ad dollars, folks. Yep, propaganda that cost real cash. Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. FDA commissioner just dropped a bomb. Cannabinoids might mess with your heart and mind. He's thinking or linking them to heart problems and psychosis. But hold up. Studies show no rise in psychosis in legal states. Just such propaganda. Yeah. Some experts say the link's weak. So is the science or scare tactics. You decide. Stay informed, stay skeptical, and keep your head in the clouds safely. Now over to you, Mrs. Weedman.
All right. Mrs. Weedman here with some political, state, and business news. Let's kick off the news with a story from L.A. The city promised to help social equity cannabis business owners bounce back from the war on drugs. But what they got instead is a hot mess of debt and broken promises. Grants and support? More like smoke and mirrors. If the city can't get its act together, maybe it's time to stop playing and start paying up. Texas Ag Commissioner Sid Miller supposedly asked a friend to toss marijuana cigarettes and gummies because he was paranoid the DEA was coming to town. He now flat out denies it, though the story comes from a recording with a Texas Ranger. Well, that's some hypocritical shenanigans, if you ask me. Here's a Senate cannabis drama update. Bipartisan lawmakers say a deal on hemp THC rules is within reach. And an amendment banning synthetic cannabinoids just dropped. Senator Rand Paul, that is, and team want to protect your CBD treats while kicking lab-made synthetics to the curb. I think I read an update on this a couple episodes, and I didn't realize the positivity within it. I thought he was just kind of making a little lane for himself and his people to stay in, but he's doing it for the people.
For the people.
Yep. So lawmakers, he is trying to save the hemp farmers. He wants to protect your CBD treats while kicking out the synthetics. So let's hope they keep up with the motions on that. Connecticut.
We just read that one.
Connecticut, I didn't read.
No, I read it though. by accident.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. Sorry about that.
The Make Connecticut Better LLC?
Yeah,
I must have been spacing out. All right. Well, listen up. DEA's new boss came in hot and immediately pushed an article claiming marijuana causes depression and suicidal thinking. They cited a Psychology Today piece by a Yale professor. Blah. The study blames youth cannabis use, but ignores decades of research showing legalization hasn't caused mental health meltdowns. So that's some fear mongering, if you ask me, folks. Policy through panic will not win this fight. Here's some truth. Doctors in the United States feel helpless when patients ask about medical cannabis. They are underprepared, says a new review of 41 studies in medical cannabis and cannabinoids. I could tell you that firsthand. Emergency doctors see potential for chronic pain and nausea relief. Family doctors are more skeptical, and oncologists are cautious with older clients and pediatric patients. Clinicians need training ASAP because patients are Googling it and winging it, and that's dangerous.
Yep.
So we need some work on that. Maine deputies seize over 2,000 pounds of weed during a raid in Somerset County, arresting a dude linked to a licensed cannabis business. Oops.
Yikes.
Legislators say this signals booming illegal grows in rural Maine. Here's some impressive news. Missouri, once again, for the win. They just dropped their dispensary jackpot. That's $23.5 million from adult use cannabis taxes. And guess what? They did good things with it. They divvied it up with 3 agencies, $7.85 million each to veteran services, public defenders, and addiction treatment grants. I say that's a good start.
I think so.
So tax your joints and fund the community. Now that's socially baked justice. Can you name a few states that could learn from Missouri? I can. Delaware's Governor Matt Mayer just toured a cannabis cultivation facility in Milford. He highlighted the partnership between First State Compassion and Delaware Technical Community College, offering hands-on training. That's awesome for aspiring cannabis professionals. Students are learning everything from seed to sale, preparing them for careers in the booming industry. That is progressive, Mr. Mayor. And he called Delaware's market the French wine of weed.
Oui, oui.
Oui, oui. You can buy it, but can you grow it? In many states, cannabis is legal for purchase and use, but home cultivation is still prohibited. Oh my God, what are you going to... They have a plant. They're going to have too much weed. Experts argue that without the right to grow your own, legalization is just corporate cannabis. Advocates say personal cultivation is essential for true freedom and equity in cannabis. So what's the deal? Is cannabis really legal if you can't grow your own? What do you say, Mr. Weedman?
If you can't grow it, it ain't legal.
That's right. It ain't free.
It ain't free.
Free the plant.
Free the plant, everybody. Free the plant. Stop the stigma, education, and help free the 40,000 prisoners get out of nonviolent
Yeah,
cannabis.
that's asinine.
Yes.
That people are in jail for nonviolent cannabis crimes. Well, I'm sitting here smoking a joint, being recorded and aired on the internet for all to see.
Yeah. Speaking of numbers,
Yeah.
we were looking at, I look at our numbers probably twice a month. And what I do look at, though, probably once a week, I look at, like, it shows sometimes like 4 different places where people are listening from. And that's what I enjoy looking at. And then once in the beginning, like second week of the month and the last week of the month, I just want to see where our numbers are at. And the other night, we were August 2nd or 3rd or something, we were looking at our numbers. And I want to thank everybody in 180 countries around the world. We're up to now.
Yeah. We had another few countries join on.
180 countries around the world. There's somebody listening to us.
That's pretty cool.
And we're in now 8,000, I think 8,152 cities around the world. Somebody is listening to our show now.
That's great.
I want to thank you all out there.
Thank you.
Before I move to the next section of political, state, and business news, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. 180 countries around the world. Phew. I love you. Thanks for keeping us going. All right, folks. In Alberta Lee, Minnesota, the city council just hit pause on approving a cannabis dispensary called The Smoking Tree. Owner Jacob Schlesinger had been cleared by the state, but a 2017 conviction for contributing to child protection issues raised eyebrows. Even though it wasn't a disqualifying offense, The council had concerns. They'll revisit the decision on August 11th. Stay tuned. All right, folks, in the world of hemp politics, things are heating up. Senator Mitch McConnell recently took to the Senate floor to criticize his colleague, guess who? Senator Rand Paul, both of them are from Kentucky, for blocking his proposal to ban hemp-derived THC products. McConnell argued that these products are more potent than marijuana and pose risks to public health. Paul, however, believes that the federal government should not interfere with the state laws on hemp. The debate continues as both senators push for their respective positions. Isn't McConnell dead? Literally, last time I saw him speak,
he was having
he
a
froze.
seizure.
I thought he
wasn't
died.
I thought he had a stroke.
He looked
or
like
a seizure.
they had to carry him off.
Not even to joke about it. Like he
No, I'm
literally
not.
like
I mean, I
needs
am,
to retire.
but I'm not. It's
Right.
The dude literally was standing there and
Yes.
didn't know where he was at.
Yes.
Why is he still in office?
Right. Making decisions for
Why is
all
he
of the
still there? Everybody. I mean, listen. I mean, You need term limits, and
Yeah.
you can't run for office after 68 years old. Done. Your views, Mr. McConnell, are so outdated. You are outdated. And go rest and go relax.
Go enjoy your retirement.
Yeah, you've been in the office for like 85 years. It's like brutal. Oh my God. That's how he sounds when he talks. It's just time for you to go. Go off in the sunset somewhere.
Enjoy yourself.
Let Rand Paul
Quit
take
working.
over. Get out. Delaware's recreational marijuana sales kicked off last Friday, and the demand was fire. 12 dispensaries opened the doors, and adult customers, many of whom had been waiting for this moment. At the farm's Newcastle location, the general manager reported a surge in customers, doubling the usual traffic with a variety of products available. Delaware's cannabis market is off to a strong start. Yeah, you have 12 dispensaries. You went from, I don't know the population of Delaware, but you probably got just in Baltimore alone, 500,000 people, 300, 400,000 people in Baltimore alone. You probably have 2 dispensaries in Baltimore, maybe more, maybe 4 out of the 12 are in Baltimore. Of course you're going to be busy.
Yeah.
Even lines down the fucking block. Open up more dispensaries for the people. Rural Texans are speaking up about how they see a hemp as an economic and health lifeline as state lawmakers continue to advance legislation to ban consumable hemp products with a detectable amount of THC. Florida Smart and Safe campaign is cruising towards the 2026 ballot, having gathered over 75% of the required signatures for the legalization, with 327,000 valid signatures, and momentum building. The group is pushing to meet the 880,062 threshold. However, Governor Ron DeSantis has expressed concerns. Of course you have, Ron. Of course. Predicting legal challenges ahead. Stay tuned as the Sunshine State navigates this green wave. We met two people down there signing people up. I wanted to so bad. Colt and Colton. Keep on signing people up. You're so close. You got till November. You
It's
in
so
Florida can do this.
Like
And
when we saw
stick it in
yeah.
DeSantis' asses. Just stick it right up in there with those signatures and get it back on the ballot.
They had a long way to go when we saw them, and like in a matter of just a couple of months, they did a lot of damage. Like got tons of signatures.
Yeah.
So I think they can do it.
I know they can do it. Not think. I
know
believe in you, Florida. You
Yes.
need 60%. You were 7% away last time. You can get more votes.
They can.
Nebraska's cannabis scene is buzzing as the Omaha tribe becomes the first in the state to fully legalize both medical and recreational marijuana. With the unanimous adoption of Title 51, the tribe is setting up a comprehensive regular system, including licensing, testing, and seed-to-sale tracking. This move aims to boost the local economy and assert tribal sovereignty, offering a model for other regions to follow. Trump's former acting DEA head, Derek Maltz, predicts the administration will soon dig into the marijuana laws and figure out the best way forward. While he didn't take a personal positions on rescheduling, Maltz emphasized the need to eliminate confusion amid the process. Air Wellness, this is a big one, folks. Air Wellness, once the rising star in the cannabis industry, is facing a major setback. The company announced plans to sell off its licenses in 8 states to satisfy debt, leading the analysts to predict that the current version of Air will cease to exist, with shares plummeting from a high of $35.40 in 2021 to just 3 cents. The future of this MSO is uncertain. You're going to see more of this. You saw one of the biggest ones, a $1 billion company, MedMen, crash and burned. Air, there's more out there. There's a lot of them still have a lot of debt, and the new profits are going to be shown this week and going into next week. All the companies are showing their shareholders their profits.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There's going to be some unhappy people.
Oh, yeah. We'll see what the Qs are going to be doing. Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Cannabis stocks are not going. They were up today, but I tell you what, it's been brutal. I mean, to watch these companies just millions of dollars in the hole every like I saw one company did 200 million in sales, but were 340 million in debt, like in loss that year.
There's just too much regulation.
Whew.
It's choking the industry.
I just want a little mom and pop dispensary. What I've always said, I want a little med dispensary. I told you, this is not an industry.
There's more regulation on cannabis than there is on pharmaceutical drugs.
Oh, yeah. It's still federally legal. Pharmaceuticals aren't. Most of them aren't anyway, you know?
I know. It's just silly.
It's silly.
Silly,
I tell you. DA releases new data on marijuana enforcement tracking Chinese growers for the first time through data for some states is not included in the latest report. The DA program nationwide counted 16,330 cultivation sites eradicated in 2024, including 14,904 outdoor sites and 1,426 indoor ones. Reported 5.3 million plants were seized. As a result of the actions, 5,764 arrests were made and 3,125 weapons were seized, the report says. This is just a sliver of the overall illicit cannabis actions nationwide, our Mento at Normal pointed out. Also, they said there was like a bunch of, remember we read there was a bunch of Chinese illegal grows. They busted 15 last year. There's 16,330 cultivation sites eradicated. Only 15 were Chinese. Crazy. So it's just like...
But they make it sound like it's around every corner.
They made it sound like it was 16,330
Yes.
farms that they busted.
Broke them all down.
That's a lot of flower, though.
Yeah.
5.3 million plants. Whew. That's a lot of plants. Just in 2024. That's crazy. This is a really good article if you're in the industry, dispensary industry, and it hits some key points. And when I told Mrs. Weedman I wanted her to read this one, I said I'm excited about this one too because we were in the industry. You sell dispensaries 8 decades, you know. I work with dispensaries all the time, so I mean this is a big one. This is learning about dispensaries, right?
Yeah.
So the cannabis industry has a major retail problem. Tell us about it, Mrs. Weedman.
Inventory management in the cannabis industry is complex. And it is a balancing act. Operators must juggle compliance requirements, product freshness, SKU assortment, and the risk of both overstocking and stockouts, all of which can lead to significant financial losses and cash flow challenges for brands and retailers if not managed effectively. Inventory management is by far the largest pain point we see from our data in the industry, says Ben Burstein of LeafLink, a leading cannabis wholesale and inventory solutions provider. He notes that although the cannabis industry generates approximately $30 billion in annual sales, a significant amount is lost each year due to inventory mismanagement, primarily from overstocking. According to LeafLink's data, the average cannabis retailer stocks approximately 100 to 120 days worth of product on their shelves. That's 4 times the inventory turnover of a typical convenience store or smoke shop, which usually holds just 20 to 30 days of inventory. The only way to liquidate that inventory is to discount it, says Burstein. And discounting is a major problem in the industry that we frequently discuss. On LeafLink, the average retail product is sold at a 13% discount, cutting directly into profit margins. And that's not even including the lost working capital and cost of capital implications that come with inventory mismanagement, he adds. I understand that people are very price conscious, says Penelope Nam Stephen, CEO of the travel agency Dispensaries in New York City. But within $1 or $2, it doesn't always make a difference. And sometimes, even when it does, the market doesn't grow. Nam Stephen warns that aggressive price cuts don't necessarily lead to higher revenue, just more units circulating with lower margins. The biggest key to maintaining healthy margins and running a sustainable business is resisting the urge to reduce prices too quickly. That's what can lead to the downfall of the industry, the speed at which price compression sets in. On the flip side, stockouts also contribute to significant revenue loss. LeafLink's data indicates that approximately 15% of a dispensary's customers drive more than 90% of sales, meaning that loyal, high-frequency buyers are crucial to retail success. If you don't have the products your heavy, repeat customers want, they'll find them somewhere else, Bernstein warns. Based on case studies with LeafLink's retail partners, stockouts account for an estimated 6% loss of sales, amounting to over $2 billion in missed revenue across the $30 billion market. That is substantial. When it comes to maximizing profitability, operators need to rethink SKU strategy. You want to give good optionality to your customers, but the more SKUs you carry, the more it's going to cost you, warns Bernstein on LeafLink. It's costly to manage highly diverse inventories. Nationally, the average dispensary stocks between 800 and 900 SKUs.
So many.
From about 100 different brands.
So many.
That translates to an average of 5 to 7 SKUs per brand per store. An inventory management challenge, sounds like a nightmare to me, that can quickly drain resources if not carefully optimized.
Especially you have to count in this state here in Illinois, you have to count your inventory
every day.
900 SKUs, 1,000 SKUs.
Oh my God.
Because the state wants to know every day. Ugh.
Nam Steven gave advice to new store owners. Start lean. Simple advice, huh?
Yep.
Make sure you're covering all your end users' preferred formats: flower, concentrate, vape, edibles, but don't overextend yourself and get stuck without a budget. She emphasizes the importance of staying agile by also capitalizing on seasonal trends. There are cycles in this business, she explains, noting that demand for specific form factors shifts with the seasons, climate, and tourism patterns. Our biggest tool as retailers is to be nimble. To maintain balance, she recommends investing in high-margin, top-performing products while also offering enough variety to meet customer needs. SKU rationalization should be monitored constantly, she says. Use traditional KPIs, your top vendors, your top SKUs, the percentage of sales driven by your top movers versus your bottom to figure out the optimal assortment. You'll never get it 100% right. There will always be lost leaders, but it's about managing the depth of inventory behind those SKUs. For brands, SKU discipline is just as critical. Bernstein says a clearer path to profitability for those who focus on one or two product types and execute them exceptionally well. He points to industry leaders like Wana, Wild, Jeter, and Stizzy, who first established dominance in a single form factor before expanding into new categories. So establish your niche and get really specific about what you're good at, says Bernstein. Then use your brand equity to command better pricing. Marianne Kursetji, founder of Oregon-based craft brand Alibi, agrees. It's easy for brands to get spread too thin across product types, she says. I believe it's crucial to maintain a strong connection with a customer. If something naturally complements your existing lineup, it's a smart addition. Otherwise, it can dilute your brand. She shares that while Alibi once tested gummies and syrups, the products didn't feel aligned with the brand's identity. So they shelved the idea because it just didn't fit. Data aggregation remains a major pain point too. Bernstein argues that retailers could see margin improvements even greater than the anticipated relief from the 280E tax burdens if they had more robust data and analytics to work with. Operators need to be asking questions like, what should I buy? How much should I buy? At what price should I buy it? At what price should I sell it? He says. Allie Carney, a New York City dispensary operations manager, echoes the sentiment. My biggest challenge is the lack of reporting I can generate from various tools we use to manage the stores, she said. Despite collecting valuable data, Carney explains that her team lacks access to the kind of aggregated reporting between software needed to drive smarter decisions. While she admits software platforms are working hard to make updates and streamline systems, whatever the inventory issues are, it comes down to your data, she concludes. One of the biggest challenges, Burstein notes, is a lack of real-time visibility into product movement across the supply chain. Brands often lack visibility into their product sales at retail, while retailers are uncertain about brand production timelines. This information gap makes it difficult for retailers to plan purchases efficiently and for brands to forecast demand or optimize production runs. That's a good point. Data is key. Like you should have real-time sales data about your product in store, and they should
It's
have
so
real-time.
hard.
Right. They don't have
Here's
that.
the thing: a lot of dispensaries don't like to share that data.
Right.
First and foremost, to the systems that are out there,
Because they don't want everybody
their
knowing.
data is probably like 60% correct. Some of the times, it's just hard. You know, the beer industry was so much easier collecting data than the cannabis industry. The beer industry, everybody's linked up. It's pretty awesome to see real time movement out of stores, not just
well, it
what
helps
you're
you
moving
as
out
a
of your
company
warehouse.
then plan your
both. It
your
helps
inventory.
the buyer. It helps the
helps everybody.
salesperson. It helps the dispensary. All three are
helps the
connection.
manufacturer.
I had a conversation with the buyer yesterday, and I said to him, "Listen, there's 4 things that you need to me as a relationship builder salesman do my best to make sure when I'm repping a product: profitability, movement, quality, and service. So 4 things you should be looking for in a product, in a brand. The other thing is too, you have to respect the vaults. Every thing in that vault, every bin in that vault is a dollar sign. You don't want to overwhelm those vaults because then you become what we call SKU confusion. You bring them all in, but you can't shit them out. When you have that many, like this article said, start lean. You don't need to bring every brand in right away. You need to get a feel for what your consumer base is going to be and what they like and what they're looking for. You also need to understand you have to build a solid foundation with your dispensary. It takes a year, maybe sometimes 2 years to build your foundation of a good, solid community base, customer base, guest base to your dispensary. It's not an overnight turnkey unless you're you're the first open, like at 12 open in Maryland, right? I mean, in Delaware right now. Yeah, of course you're going to be busy. There's 12 stores with 1 million people.
Yeah, but probably for that first year, people are bouncing from store to store until they find their store that they like before they get to know which store they like best.
Right. It's also what products they carry. But we're training the consumer here in the cannabis industry, just like they've trained in the grocery store. Red tag, blue tag, green tag, yellow tag. And what I mean by that is 67% of all shopping is done online now here in Illinois. That means that people are looking for the tag. What is on sale today? They have their specific products they might like, whether it's on sale or not, they buy it. In the edible game of it, 47% of all people stick to the same edible brand. So, but people are sale shoppers. We've trained the consumer to look for sales, BOGOs, 2 for $20, on sale all week long at 50% off. Whatever you're doing, it's just to try to generate people coming in. And you're giving away that much. Here, what my belief is, we didn't need to do all this. We do a fair price, so everyone makes money, and the consumer gets a good product to take, quality product to take home with them. I don't know. I have so much I could talk about, but time's running a little slim, so I can talk way more. But this is if you want to understand this dispensary industry, this is a really good article to understand the back end, front end. There's so much more that goes into a dispensary, but you look at states. Let me give you a perfect example. Michigan, you can get 1,200 milligram of edibles for $25.
It's a little different.
Yeah. You know, I don't understand how anybody makes any money and to survive. You know, I'm not saying rob the consumer, but charge a fair price so you can make a living. You can keep your doors open, because eventually that's not sustainable in the long term. You'll just be closing down in 2 or 3 years or selling your business. You know, so it's just very interesting to see this cannabis industry, and you know, from when I started in traditional market to today, what we're seeing today. You know, price compression is definitely real. And you see it started in the West Coast and moved all the way over here, you know, and all these West Coast companies took their businesses and brought it to the Midwest and now to New York, and they're doing the same thing they did over there, where because their states are now in a decline and you have to do pricing strategies and all that kind of stuff. You're bringing it here and then over there, and now you see the market's doing it. And now, you have to sell more items to get the same amount of volume, to be able to afford to stay open, keep your doors open. You have to sometimes double your volume that you were doing a year ago because your prices are down so low.
Right.
When you're giving away, when I see dispensaries doing 50% offs, 40% offs, like half store, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. To try to
Hard
get business.
to make money that way.
No, yeah, it's hard to survive. You'll see. You will see. International news, Morocco's legal cannabis industry is growing with 5,000 farmers joining the fold this year, up from 430 in 2023. Legal production reached nearly 4,200 tons. The black market still thrives. Farmers face challenges like complex bureaucracy, delayed payments, and low prices in the legal market, making it illicit market trade more appealing. Despite these hurdles, Morocco remains committed to developing its legal cannabis sector. Phuket, Thailand's cannabis scene is under fire. People Party MP Charlampong Sangedi warns that the persuasive smell is driving away quality tourists and tarnishing the island's reputation. He calls for urgent regulations, including zoning and age restrictions, to restore balance. With tourism at the economic backbone, he emphasizes that they need to be a controlled approach to cannabis use to protect Pawtucket's allure. Colombia is stepping up its cannabis game. A new draft decree from the Justice Ministry aims to legalize the sale of psychoactive cannabis. Oh, okay. So cannabis makes you really psychoactive now in Colombia. With the medical prescription, if approved, pharmacies could dispense cannabis flower to patients with conditions like chronic pain or Parkinson's disease. The move builds a decade of marijuana liberalization, signaling a shift toward a more regulated cannabis market. New Zealand's MedSafe just dropped super strict cannabis rules, so advertising THC or CBD products, no educational materials, or even patient cards count as ads. Clinics say it's chilling and confusing. Doctors are scared, and patients miss info. Fines up to 100K New Zealand 100K or prison for slipping up. It's the banning books at a library. Patient consent, more like patient silence. I do have to give a shout out to Auckland in New Zealand, and everybody that listens to us there. I appreciate you. Slovenia is flipping its cannabis script. Lawmakers just introduced a bill to legalize adult-use cannabis, allowing adults over 18 to grow and 4 plants, max 6 per household, and possess up to 7 grams in public, up to 150 grams at home. This comes right after medical marijuana law passed on July 29th. Hell yeah. It's grassroots from meets European swagger, and Slovenia is taking the lead. Europe, take note. Legal cannabis just got local. Switzerland is pushing a new draft of law to fully regulate adult-use cannabis by 2026. Parliamentary Commission backed legal grow by possesses and consumes under strict rules and state-controlled nonprofit systems. Adults may grow up to 3 plants. THC tax funds public health, and no vertical integration allowed. It's like a Swiss watch, elegant, precise, and no profiteering fluff. Nice. Australia just dropped some wild numbers. One doctor reportedly issued 72,000 medical cannabis prescriptions to over 10,000 patients in just 2 years. They sparked major concern over telehealth ethics, rushed appointments, and profiteering from vulnerable patients. Health officials are calling for stricter regs and better oversight, and Motu is under fire. Cannabis care doesn't need shortcuts. Patients' trust is key. Australia's medical cannabis crackdown is sparking major backlash. High Times reports critical slamming government claims linking the plant to patients' death and psychosis, calling it misleading and fear-mongering, arguing the real issue is faulty prescribing and oversight. Regulators are chasing telehealth clinics, pushing scripts every few minutes. They say the system, not the cannabis, is broken. Patient safety needs reform, not panic. Heads up from Hong Kong. Customs just seized 20 kilograms of suspected cannabis buds worth around HK 4 million from 2 men arriving from Bangkok, each carrying about 10 kilograms in vacuum-sealed bags during the airport clearance. Both got arrested and will face drug trafficking charges. This bus shows customs is not playing in Hong Kong. Ain't the place to smuggle green. Yeah, man, don't... I mean, oof. You're in some trouble. You got some splaining to do, Lucy, that's for sure. Big news from Jamaica. Cookies, the iconic California cannabis brand, is dropping the first ever retail store in Montego Bay on August 5th, 2025, which is today. The landmark launches brings premium flower, wellness products, apparel, and mushroom blends straight into one of the world's most legendary ganja cultures. Fans can expect giveaways, music, and community vibes all week. Caribbean expansion never tasted so sweet. And that is international news, everybody. Ms. Weedman, you're about to finish us off with the top 10 pop culture moments that destigmatized weed.
Yeah, but I let the joint go out again. I guess I don't really need to smoke anymore because I keep lighting it and forgetting about it. I can't even see.
So good.
Right. There you go, Mr. Weedman.
Thank you. I'll finish it off.
I'll smoke some
Maybe.
more when you're done.
All right.
All right. You ready for this one? Sorry about that. Lots going on here. There are 10 pop culture moments that destigmatized weed. In the United States, the stigma surrounding cannabis, known by various names including weed, Mary Jane, or marijuana, has undergone a complex journey from being classified as a Schedule I substance with a high potential for abuse and no medical value, a decision now under review, to becoming commonplace in modern culture. Throughout much of the 20th century, marijuana remained highly stigmatized and classified as a Schedule I controlled substance under federal law, alongside drugs like heroin, of course, and LSD. However, toward the latter part of the last century and gaining intense momentum in the 21st century, collective attitudes toward marijuana began to shift. Over the past decade, significant legal developments have shaped or reshaped the landscape of marijuana policy in the United States. Parallel to these legal changes, pop culture has played a significant role in destigmatizing marijuana. Comedy, music, and movies have often shown cannabis use in combination of both humorous and positive light, challenging age-old stereotypes and contributing to its acceptance in mainstream culture. Hang on. Oh, man.
It's out
I
again.
let it go out again. These moments have assisted in the normalization of this all-natural medicine that some once viewed as the devil's lettuce. With that in mind, some of the pivotal people and moments in pop culture that have contributed to the cannabis conversation have also helped to destigmatize weed. So let's talk about some of them. Let's go back, a while back, and there's Louis Armstrong. He's an undeniable legend of jazz. With his distinctive gravelly voice and wide smile, Armstrong inevitably conjures up images of dark, smoky rooms and distinctive trumpet playing. The icon was a frequent user of cannabis, having first tried it in the 1920s during the age of Prohibition. He called cannabis the gauge and explained, "That was our cute little nickname for marijuana. We always looked at pot as sort of medicine, a cheap drunk with much better thoughts than one that's full of liquor." The 1936 film Reefer Madness, originally titled Tell Your Children, was released to enlighten parents about the dangers of cannabis. Initially financed by a church group as part of their outreach, the film portrays a group of high school students who get their hands on some weed and slowly descend into madness. Hallucinations, violence, and rape all come into play as these once aspiring youth fall victim to the dangers of the demon weed. While many considered the film one of the worst of all time, it was rediscovered in the 70s. It took on a new life, becoming a cult classic that stoners worldwide mercilessly mocked for being ludicrous and blatantly fear-mongering. Then we move on, and we've got Bob Dylan and the Beatles, and they shaped music history and cannabis use. Bob Dylan was a longtime smoker of cannabis and saw it as a broadening experience. "I wouldn't advise anybody to use drugs," he said, "certainly not hard drugs," he told Playboy in a 1966 interview. "But opium, hash, pot, no, those aren't drugs. They just bend your mind a little. I think everybody's mind should be bent once in a while." It was Dylan who introduced the Beatles to cannabis in 1964 inside a New York City hotel room. Already a musical sensation at the time, the Beatles would only broaden their musical horizons after their encounters with cannabis, producing music that experimented with sound and rhythm. Buffeted by the lofty status of these musical legends and with lyrics like Dylan's "Everybody Must Get Stoned" or the Beatles' "I Get High with a Little Help from My Friends," cannabis soon became a symbol of a counterculture movement in opposition to the Vietnam War and in support of feminism and the civil rights movement. The mention of cannabis on mainstream television through the 50s and 60s was far and far between. But by the early 70s, however, counterculture's use of cannabis reopened the conversation in a new way, illustrated by the popular comedy series Sanford and Son, primarily the 1974 episode Fred's Treasure Garden. The episode showed the effects of marijuana in a far more realistic and positive light, inducing forgetfulness, a bit more kindness, and yes, a craving for snacks. Then we segue into reggae music and becoming heavily embraced in America during the counterculture movement. The music and message of Bob Marley and the Wailers, which broke through when Rastaman Vibration was released in 1976, heavily embodied the new generation's desire to question authority, view spirituality from a different perspective, and embrace peace over war. Concurrently, the Rastafari's spiritual connection to cannabis meant that Marley became an icon evangelizing its use. This stance showed up in his music and his unabashed advocacy for the legalization of weed. Even today, Marley's face is on countless cannabis goods, calling for one love. Ha! Then we have Cheech and Chong. Their Up in Smoke movie, it predates modern cannabis conversations. These comedians, Cheech Marin, Tommy Chong, they brought a different perception of cannabis to the big screen with their 1978 classic Up in Smoke. The film showed the somewhat absurd side effects of marijuana and didn't include any of the demonization, allowing audience members to relax their preconceptions and see an alternative perspective. The movie was a surprise hit. Up in Smoke predates a world where stoner films became a genre in themselves, and cannabis was liberally used in society. Moving into the modern era, Snoop Dogg in Dr. Dre's The Chronic helps legalize cannabis. When Snoop Dogg was prominently featured in the 1992 album, his music brought marijuana use into mainstream conversation. His persona, characterized by open discussions about cannabis and his pointed public consumption without fear of judgment, further normalized its presence in everyday life. Writing for the Washington Post, Jeff Weiss credits The Chronic for helping legalize weed. Showtime's show Weeds. The dark comedy was a lighter kind of Breaking Bad that showed Nancy Botwin, a widowed mother of two, selling cannabis to keep up her family's upper middle class lifestyle. When the show premiered, the legalization of cannabis was only getting in gear. About 9 states had passed laws legalizing the medical use of weed. As the show continued, however, public opinion on the substance continued to change, and more states approved cannabis for recreational use. Weeds stoked public conversations about cannabis and went on to become one of the highest-rated original Showtime shows. And then there was Netflix's Disjointed, where it shows us the spectrum of cannabis users. The short-lived comedy series blazed a trail in terms of marijuana culture by bringing audiences into the world of retail dispensaries in a sitcom format. Through its colorful cast of characters, including Academy Award winner Kathy Bates, and a positive portrayal of life in the cannabis industry, the show challenged the norms, if only for a minute. The show played a role in advancing the concept of marijuana use by delving into the reasons why customers were purchasing weed and the diverse community of cannabis customers and industry workers. As marijuana has found its way into the mainstream, the influence of pop culture on cannabis has extended beyond music, film, and television. Over the years, celebrities have attached their names to existing brands or created their own. None have been as successful as the San Francisco rapper and businessman Berner, who has used his influence in the industry to reshape perceptions of both cannabis and the industry that surrounds it. Through sleek and aesthetically appealing packaging, branding, and marketing akin to that of streetwear, Berner's savvy has pushed his cookies brand to the forefront of the industry. The influencer and hip-hop artist has leveraged that success to normalize the once taboo plant further. So let's continue watching as freedom for the plant evolves and stigmas die off. And watch for 8 decades and cookies, because we're going to be there for real.
Ms. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
That's the end of the show.
Yeah. That's
Got
it.
anything else to say?
I'm going to continue trying to light that joint and smoke it for more than a half of a hit. Everybody have a great week. Thanks for listening.
We love you out there, everybody. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you giving us feedback. Appreciate you giving us love. We love you. As Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.